this will be over $1 million someday.
I-
You heard me say it. I'll say it 100 times over. This should have gone.
It should have.
I'm ecstatic.
Hello, you absolute legends. Over 5 years ago, back in August 2021, I released a video titled Exposing Fraud and Deception in the Retro Video Game Market. This was right at the very peak of the speculative bubble that had formed around sealed video games. The reason I even started looking into the sealed video game market was because I had seen news that a Super Mario 64 had sold for $1.5 million. This made absolutely no sense to me because just a few years earlier, this game would have been lucky to have been sold for just a few grand. This is an increase in value of around 50,000% in just a few years. And Super Mario 64 is the highest selling game on the Nintendo 64. Hardly a rarity. In my video, I called out the fact very directly that this was a bubble and it was going to burst. The retro video game bubble cannot go on forever. At some point, it will burst. The question is when. What's interesting is that while the general public saw this for what it was, an artificially created speculative bubble manipulated by people with a lot of control and money, there were some people who disagreed. And coincidentally, the people that disagreed tended to own sealed video games, and most of them had expressed the fact that they wanted the cost of their video games to go up. Surely their vested interest in the price of their games wasn't clouding their judgment. They even attacked me, saying that I was lying about the market just for money and clout. But as it turned out, I was 100% correct. The market was in a speculative bubble, and it ended up crashing. Many people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars buying up these games. Some people lost over $1 million. And while most of the people who lost money will be forever anonymous because auction houses don't release details, in early 2022, two people made a video announcing that they had just bought a game. It was a first print version of the original Legend of Zelda for the NES, and it cost them $600,000. The video is pretty crazy for multiple reasons. They spend the entire time essentially bragging about how much money they are going to make. But in a shocking twist that no one could have predicted, their game is now worth less than half of what they bought it for, and they've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today we are going to take a look at some of their video because it is extremely enlightening. You're about to hear from someone who spent over $500,000 on a video game they've probably never even played. I really hope you enjoy. Now legends, this video is sponsored by Zenless Zone Zero, a free-to-play urban fantasy action RPG set in a world threatened by supernatural disaster zones called Hollows. You play as a proxy, guiding teams of agents into Hollows to fight monsters and recover valuable resources. I've been playing it quite a bit myself, and the combat is extremely fun. It's fast, responsive, and really satisfying, especially when switching characters, timing dodges, and chaining together attacks. Zenless Zone Zero is now also celebrating its second year anniversary, and the rewards are insane. With the release of version 3.1 called The Long Goodbye, you get 1 free limited S-tier agent, 1 free S-tier W engine, 20 free character pulls, 10 bamboo pulls, and over 1600 polychromes. It also introduces Remiel, a first-generation S-rank Void Hunter who looks gorgeous and is a force to be reckoned with. Plus a brand new feature called Operation Bagel, a permanent mode where you search for valuable loot and decide how far to push it before extracting, is now ready to be explored. The storytelling and aesthetic of the world is super engaging, the designs of the agents are stunning, the diversity in their abilities is really impressive, facilitating a ton of creativity in your strategy, but most importantly it's just fun to play. Zenless Zone Zero is free to play on PC, console, and mobile. Download it through my link in the description and make sure to use the code ZZZ31REMIEL for even more rewards. Before we get into their video, I want to give you an example of just how stupid things were at the time. July 11, 2021 is when the $1.5 million Super Mario 64 sold, and the lot that came directly after it in the auction was a Player's Choice edition. Player's Choice are always worth far less because they are a later print. On the Nintendo 64, once a game reaches 8 million sales, they start printing Player's Choice on the top corner, and sealed collectors put a lot of value on the very first prints. In this case, the Player's Choice was a 9.6 grade, and it sold for $13,000. But then Heritage Auctions did another auction later that very same day, and by this time news of the $1.5 million sale had spread, causing an influx of speculators. And in the second auction, another Player's Choice Super Mario 64 was put up for sale. This copy was only a 9.4 grade, so in theory it should be worth less than the 9.6 copy that sold for $13,000 earlier that day. But this copy ended up selling for $28,000. A worse condition copy sold for more than double the price on the very same day. This is not normal market behavior. This is what they call speculative mania. This was an increase in value of more than 200% within just a few hours. On top of the ridiculous increase of price in such a short amount of time, every single piece of messaging that I saw in the mainstream media was geared towards pumping up the price. They would get quotes from Dennis Kahn, the founder of the grading company Wata Games, or Jim Halperin, the founder of the auction house, or some other rich speculator who just wanted to make money, and their quotes would all be the same. They would say the games should be worth millions of dollars and that the market was going to keep going up. This is a problem because if everyone is only always talking about money, it's a good indicator of what people are prioritizing when they are buying these games. And if money is the main priority, this is speculation by definition. And it means that eventually someone is going to be left holding the bag. And that's exactly what happened. That $28,000 Player's Choice Mario someone bought in 2021 is now worth less than $2,000. And the person that bought the $1.5 million Mario lost over $1 million. And I made a video covering some examples of people losing north of 90% on a lot of these games back in 2023. But let's get into this video where these speculators are talking about how much money they're going to make. First, however, we need to put the purchase into context. In July 2021, at the peak of the bubble, a 9.0 third print Zelda sold for $870,000. Then, just a few months later in October 2021, an 8.0 first print sold for $705,000. In my opinion, this was already a bad sign, because generally the first print should be worth more than the third print. However, because the first print was a lower quality, it's a bit harder to say. Then, in February 2022, a 9.2 first print sold for $600,000 through Golden Auctions. This is a sale that these two speculators bought and made a video about. Personally, when I saw this sale, I perceived it as further confirmation that the market was crashing. In 4 months, the game had already lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. An 8.0 first print selling for $700K and then a 9.2 first print selling for only $600K is a very bad sign. It means that the market is going down. But these speculators, because they were in denial and their reasoning was being clouded by the bubble and the thought of making money, saw things very differently. Watch how they rationalize that this was not a bad sign, but instead was just a lucky opportunity for them to make money because they bought the game so cheaply. And I've intentionally blurred their names because I don't want you to find these people or harass them in any way. This is not a personal attack. I don't even know these people. I am purely using this video as a demonstration of how these people speculated in the sealed video game bubble and then used propaganda to try and increase the value so that they could profit.
And we said all along that that Legend of Zelda first print should be $1 million+ game. The last one that sold was a lower grade copy. It sold for over 700. So we said all along, this 9.2 should hit over $1 million.
Games shouldn't be worth anything just because you want them to be. Things are worth whatever people are willing to pay for them. Thinking that something should be worth a lot of money is the primary reason people lose a lot of money buying stupid shit. Remember when people said NFTs should be worth a lot of money? Look how that turned out. NFTs were selling for millions. Now they've lost over 90% of their value. There are some things in life that will probably always retain some value, like real estate or precious metals, because those have utility and are in high demand. But sealed video games have got to be one of the most niche things on the entire planet to collect. Plenty of people collect video games in general, but sealed collecting is a niche within a niche. Hardly anyone cares about them. So saying they should be worth $1 million doesn't seem to make sense to me.
So we said all along, this 9.2 should hit over $1 million. And I was popping bottles, okay? when we scooped the 9-2 first print Zelda, one of only 3 copies on the What a Pop report, for $600,000.
She's celebrating that she was able to buy the game for only $600,000 when she thought it would sell for over $1 million. To someone not invested in the market, this seems like a negative sign. It means that you are overvaluing the market. But again, because she is invested and wants to believe that they are going to make money, she rationalizes this as just a lucky buy and a steal. There is a universe that could have existed where the price of the game did go up. It's not as if it was an absolute certainty that the price was going to go down. My prediction could have been completely wrong. But clearly she is too emotionally invested in what she believes to be the future of the market.
This will be over $1 million someday. You heard me say it. I'll say it 100 times over. This should have gone. I'm ecstatic.
The gentleman on the right seems to be a lot more level-headed, but the woman is clearly not acting rationally. The reality is that whenever you are speculating in a market, you are in effect gambling and can't know for sure how the price will evolve. She believed the price was going to go above $1 million. Let's see what actually happened. 2 years later, in February 2024, another 8.0 first print went up for sale. The exact same grade as the one that sold for $705,000 in 2021, except this time it sold for $288,000. This is obviously bad because the price had dropped by 60%, but it's also bad because the population had increased by 1, which is a lot when one of the reasons she said the game should be worth more than $1 million is that there were only 3 known copies.
When we scooped the 9-2 first print Zelda, one of only 3 copies on the What a Pop report, for $600,000. I've never been so excited to put in a bid for that dollar amount.
It is true that there were only 3 graded copies on the What a Population report at the time, but this particular game was graded by a different grading company, CGC, and it's clearly a different copy because it has a sticker. So not only had the price plummeted, but the supply had increased. Then in August 2024, another CGC 9.2 first print went up for auction, with a better seal rating of A, and it sold for $375,000. But really, that's not the full story, because Heritage Auctions have a buyer's premium of 25%. So whoever sold that $375,000 copy only received $281,000 after Heritage took their cut. Then in May 2025, another first print went up for auction, this time a 9.4. This is a better condition copy than the one they bought, and not only was it a 9.4, but it had a seal rating of A+. Still, the price continued to drop, selling for only $300,000. And of course, a 9.2 B+ is going to be worth less than a 9.4 A+. So if we generously estimate that their copy would sell for around $250,000, they would only get $187,000, meaning that they would have lost over $400,000 since purchase. This was also another Zelda graded by CGC, not Wata, so once again, the supply had increased. Then recently, just this year, another first print Zelda was freshly graded as a 9.6 A+ and put up for auction. This copy sold for $375,000 in June. So even ignoring that this game was far better quality, almost mint condition, they still lost over half their money just based on the sales price and subtracting the buyer's premium. This was also the same auction where a second print Super Mario Bros. Sold for a record $3 million. So there were a lot of extra eyes on this auction. The record-breaking Mario was bought by the same man who purchased Logan Paul's Pikachu Illustrator for over $16 million. So he is clearly a very high-end speculator wanting to buy the best of the best in each market. This Mario was also easily the most sought-after and rare game ever put up for auction. So it's not surprising that it set a new record. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there is a new bubble or that the market in general is going up. The previous record for most expensive game was $2 million for a later print of Super Mario Bros., which was bought by a very wealthy and well-known collector right at the peak of the bubble in 2021.
I have been into video games, and this is the holy grail for video games.
Yeah.
That's the one. It is the one.
That's the one.
It's the one.
That's the one.
So, what drew you to this?
I thought to myself, what's the most relevant video game out there? Does it have rarity? And can I find one that's irreplaceable?
In this recent June auction, a copy of an even earlier print at the exact same grade sold for $575,000. That's still a lot of money, but it means that the previous $2 million copy has dropped in value by at least 75%. So the person who bought the $2 million Mario has effectively lost over $1.5 million with that purchase. And as you can see, at the time he bought it, he was celebrating his purchase and touting it as the holy grail of video game collecting.
So let's talk about prints first.
Let's do it.
Okay, so on the TM, I hope you guys can see it. Okay, look at my light. I got a new camera. Okay, so if you look, there it is. Do you see next to the Zelda where it has that TM? So a first print has 2 TMs on it. It has it next to the entertainment system in gray. And then we also get that red TM next to the Zelda. So that signifies a first print.
She then spends 5 minutes explaining how one box has a tiny TM next to the word system, and another box has a registered trademark symbol. Realistically, 99.9% of people don't care about these differences. People don't care which print was first or which was second. What these high-end speculators try to do is convince you that this box is way more valuable than another box because it was printed first.
Small little TM.
There we go. It's super tiny. It's such fine print, but that signifies a first print.
I do understand why a box in a better condition would sell for more. Everyone wants the things they own to be in the most pristine condition they can be. And I also do understand why an earlier print would sell for more, because generally they are rarer. But the average general gamer doesn't really care about prints. I think as soon as people start talking about the minor differences between boxes, most people will simply tap out and stop listening.
And I think the other thing we can't forget is comic books have been being collected for over 30 years. We've had comic book conventions, and they've been trading in graded condition in CGC for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Cards,
Exactly, yeah.
same thing. Like, these are very long established hobbies.
First of all, I don't think the comparison is meaningful. Historically, people read comic books. The comic book itself actually gave the value. People didn't spend hundreds of hours playing with the cardboard box that the video game came in. They played the game itself. It's the game that has the nostalgic value, not the box or the seal. I don't think Pokemon fans hate the idea of collecting Pokemon cards. That was the entire point, collecting them all. But I can tell you that a lot of passionate gamers find the idea of collecting sealed video games really, really stupid. So in my opinion, I don't think they are comparable and will never be equivalent. And ironically, one of the reasons most gamers dislike sealed video game collecting now is because all these high-end speculators do is talk about how much their games are worth and how much money they think they can make.
So I think that we're going to have like video game version 1 market, and then we're going to have version 2.
Yeah. I think we're just in the process of that, and we're
in the middle of that like ebb and flow, where we're like a little more ebb than flow. But I'm okay with it because there's opportunities there, like the
sure.
Zelda.
Well, I'm glad that she's at least okay with it. She appears to be wealthy and probably doesn't care too much that she lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on this purchase. The crazy thing is that their purchase of this Zelda was half a year after the peak, and they still lost so much money. that first print 8.0 that sold for $705,000 in 2021 is back up for auction again, and I'm expecting that one to lose well over $500,000, but we will see. In any case, it begs to reason, why did they spend $700,000 on a video game just to put it up again for auction 5 years later, where it is certainly going to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars? The fact that so many of these super expensive games that sold in 2021 are going up for auction again within just a few years just shows that the intent was always to flip them. Anyways, their video was 31 minutes long. They talked about how much money they were going to make, how rare their game was, why it's so valuable because their box has a little TM on it, and also about how video games are going to be worth as much as sports cards. But guess how many times either one of them mentioned that they had even played the game, let alone liked it? Exactly 0 times. Puzzle games are probably my favorite genre of video games. And around 6 years ago, I made a video covering puzzle game speedruns. And in that video, I covered a bunch of games, but 3 of the games I covered were Myst, Quest for Glory, and Zork Nemesis. All 3 of those games are very special to me, and I played all of them in the 90s, and I have vivid memories of my entire family gathered around the computer, playing through the games, trying to solve all of the problems. So there is a lot of nostalgia for me, and I invested a lot of time playing them, especially Quest for Glory because it was an RPG as well as a puzzle game. So, you'd have to spend more time developing the character. But since then, I did acquire sealed copies of all 3 of the games. So this is my copy of Zork Nemesis. This is my copy of Quest for Glory. And this is my copy of Myst. Now, Myst is especially important because when it came out, it was a big deal, and it became the best-selling PC game of all time, and it was the best-selling PC game of all time for almost 10 years. It made people want to go out and specifically buy computers with CD-ROM drives so they could play Myst. And all of that is really cool information, but honestly, who gives a fuck? Because the only reason I bought this is because I have very fond memories playing the game with my family as a kid, and that is why it is special to me. Now, I could sit here and say this should be worth so much money because of how revolutionary it was for PC gaming and all that other crap I said, but I bought this copy for $250. And I couldn't care less how much it is or will be worth. It's not why I bought it, and it's not why I care about the game. Now, if you know anything about me, you know I've played a lot of Perfect Dark in my life. I am a 4-time Perfect Dark World Champion. I've set hundreds of world records. I've played the game for 25 years. I've met lifelong friends through the speedrunning community. And I own 3 copies of the game. I own the North American version. I own the Japanese version. And I own the PAL version. And the reason why I own 3 copies of the game is because different versions have very slight variations that might give you an advantage on certain levels. So if you want to be like a tippy-top speedrunner, you usually have to own a copy of each region to get the maximum benefit. And I also own the Japanese box for the game because I think the artwork for the Japanese Perfect Dark is probably the coolest artwork in the entire N64 library. But I do also have a mint condition sealed Perfect Dark, and yes, it is graded as well. So why am I showing you this? It's because I see a lot of people say that grading is a scam or sealed video game collecting is stupid because games are meant to be played, and I see a lot of people showing my videos as justification for making those arguments. But that is not my opinion. I don't think grading is a scam like many other people do, and I don't think sealed video game collecting is stupid. I do it myself. But when I bought that Perfect Dark, I didn't buy it because I wanted to make money or because it's worth a lot of money, which it isn't. You can get a mint condition sealed Perfect Dark for around $500. I bought it because I love Perfect Dark and I wanted a sealed, really nice copy to put on my shelf. So that's why I bought it. So people like me actually exist. But unfortunately, the general public now associates graded games with money, instead of a genuine passion for the games, because that's all these high-end collectors ever talk about.
So these are the two gems of my collection, and the games that I spent the most money on. This one is a first print Mario Brothers with a sticker seal, which means it's from the test market run of Nintendo in 1986. And there's only one of these in the world, and this is it. And I spent $95,000 on this. This one is a first print Castlevania, the first time Castlevania was released to the public, because it has the hang tab, which signifies the first print. And it's in amazing condition with almost a perfect seal. This one I spent $85,000 on. Both of these were steals. Since I bought these games, I've gotten a few unofficial offers of over $200,000 for each of them. But I'll tell you right now, if someone offered me $500,000 for each, I would not sell.
My own personal opinion is that I love the graded games that I own, and I love them because I actually played them. I never plan on selling them, and when I look at them, they remind me of the amazing times they provided me when I was growing up, and that is worth far more than money ever could. Thanks for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.